Welcome to the 2019 CFL Combine presented by New Era. We are coming at you live from the Goldring Center on the U of T campus in Toronto. I am joined by my pal and co-host Davis Sanchez. Chezzy, what are you most looking forward to about this weekend? Such an exciting weekend for CFL fans, but more importantly for this group of young athletes preparing for the next level.
Well, it's the new stars, the future stars of this league and potential future stars of this league. It's Andrew Harris, Brad Sinopoli, Ted Laron, these guys, John Cornish. These guys are here today, and I want to get a chance to meet these guys, watch them participate, watch them perform, and then talk to GMs and coaches about these guys. This is the potential new wave of stars in this league, and we get to watch them today.
We have got a jam-packed weekend for you guys. Coming up, we've got the bench press, which will happen probably for the next hour or so. And then tomorrow, we've got 3 separate shows, 10 a.m. Eastern, O-line and D-line indie drills, and then one-on-ones. Then at 11 a.m., the 40-yard dash, and then at 12:30, running backs, linebackers, then wide receivers and DBs for indie and one-on-ones. But Ches, what makes this year's Combine different? Well, that is CFL 2.0. You guys have certainly heard Commissioner Randy Ambrosie talking in the media about CFL 2.0 and that new mindset to reach internationally to try and grow this game. Well, Randy is going to join us in a few moments to talk about that new mindset. But first, here is a little sneak peek at some of the global players joining us this weekend.
The CFL Combine is going global. For the first time in its history, the league is welcoming players from professional leagues from around the world to participate in the Combine. 18 top prospects from Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, and Finland are here to showcase their skills for scouts, GMs, and coaches. This is a key part of CFL 2.0, a new vision for the league which reaches beyond Canadian borders. It follows a series of strategic partnerships between the CFL and multiple football leagues and federations around the world. Their goal? To be drafted in the CFL and be a part of the great history of our game.
We are now joined by CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie. Randy, let's jump right into it and talk about the thought process of opening up the CFL Combine presented by New Era to these global players and also the league.
Well, it really started with a discussion about how, Canada's markets, our CFL markets have changed, where we've got our traditional kind of Canadian cities, Edmonton, Regina, Winnipeg, look at maybe include Hamilton and Ottawa. But when you look at what's happening in Vancouver and in Toronto and Montreal, these are big international cities. And what it said is we couldn't think about our league as having one type of CFL city anymore. So that was the starting spot. The second was, look at what's happened in the world of sports. Sports have become international, and international sports are outpacing by growth all other sports by a long shot. So that was really the second piece of the puzzle. But it all came together when we looked at what's happening in the football world. 40 countries now playing football around the world, and if you just reorient your thinking, we're no longer the smaller of 2 football nations. We're actually the second biggest of 40. And the second biggest of 40 is a lot bigger than the much smaller of 2. And as a result of all of that and these amazing federations, now we've got these wonderful young men, taking part in our Combine.
Everybody that's been on this tour and visited, the one thing they tell me when they come back is they're surprised just how big the game of football is in these countries. You visited them. What was the response, and how big is football in these places? Were there any Ambrosie jerseys found, old Eskimo Ambrosie jerseys? Or maybe not that big.
Well, listen, I left a bunch behind, so if that counts, then yes, there's now Ambrosie jerseys out in the European and Spanish American markets like Mexico. But no, really what blew me away is how quickly they embraced this idea that we could play a central role in how we bring the world of international football together. Their enthusiasm. I mean, some of the guys from the federations that we met are big guys. They're big football guys, and all of these meetings started with a hug. Like they were so grateful that we were there, talking about football with them, and you just got this immediate feeling this could be powerful, and it would open the doors to a whole opportunity for a much bigger CFL.
We got a chance to see it last week in Mexico, but wondering your take on the level of play in these different markets.
Yeah, this is something we're still trying to figure out. And, again, the reason why it's so great to have the players here at the Combine is get to see our wonderful Canadian, draft picks up against these international athletes. It's going to help us to start benchmarking where these players are, relative to our current crop of players. I think that we're not working on the assumption that all 18 players that are here are going to become CFL stars. Look, if a few of these young men, just a few of these young men, turn out to be, able to play in our league, that is the beginning of a whole new beginning for the Canadian Football League.
Hey, the first thing when I heard about CFL 2.0, the first thing I thought about, other than obviously the global eyes on our game, is how do we incorporate these guys into teams? How is that going to work out?
Yeah, I think that's why the conversation happening with the players in our CBA discussions right now. This is a central topic, and how do we give our players the benefit of what global growth could mean for the long-term future of player compensation? As an example, if you look at the Premier League, when they went to their international model, players are paid like 4,000% more today than they were making when it was the old EFL, the English Football League. I want our players to be able to benefit from the opportunity that global growth can bring, but now we just got to find a way to make that work. And I'm absolutely sure that between the Player Association and ourselves, that we're going to find a formula that works.
Randy, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, we've got the bench press coming up right now. Here's a little 101 to get you primed.
It's time to put some muscle behind that hustle. It's chest day. The bench press portion of the Combine is perhaps the most nerve-wracking part of the Combine for prospects, with everyone watching how many reps of 225 pounds each player can bench. Whether you're breaking tackles or rushing the quarterback, upper body strength is a must at the pro level. Much like the 40-yard dash, players can really stand out on the bench press. And on the other hand, a poor showing gives scouts pause as to whether the player has the strength to excel in the CFL.
Welcome Marshall Ferguson now to join us. The global players now are going to hop on a bench press. We got lots of expectations of these guys.
Yeah, I think it's a great group. There's some guys that are a little bit older, so they might be more developed physically, certainly, that are coming out. But these are players that have put a lot of work in all the places that they've been around the world, from 5 different countries, that have the ability certainly to be able to play. We believe Randy Ambrosie was just talking about it, the idea of getting them in, making them feel at home. It's been an amazing kind of environment to have them be a part of this weekend's proceedings, and I'm looking forward to seeing what numbers they put up as we get a look at the bench press numbers in the past from the global players here. Max Zimmerman posting a big number as well over in Germany in the GFL, and the one that I love on there is the quarterback. You might not know the name of yet, Sonny Weisprecht, as he's got himself a chance to put up a nice number today.
That's definitely a quarterback who has a bigger arm and bigger bench press than you ever did, Marsh.
Yeah. This is not a quarterback-friendly event necessarily, but again, there's a lot of defensive linemen, offensive linemen, and the thing that I've been impressed by actually is the size of the receivers that have come from the global work, and I think that's why it's been so interesting to see the way that they've come over here and really showing out. And again, this morning was the measurements. We got to look at the guys just physically, shirt off, getting the arm length and the wingspan, all these things done. There's some big guys that have come over from overseas.
A lot of first off the bus guys in this group.
Yeah,
what's the first off the bus guy? What is that?
First off the bus guy is the dude you put at the front of the bus because he's supposed to scare the bleep out of anybody that sees him step off the bus.
Neither one of us were ever that guy.
Never that guy.
But there's some here.
It's usually the linebackers, your D-line, your O-line, but there's a couple of big bodies that have come over from overseas, so we're looking forward to seeing them. But also the guys that have an opportunity from U Sports to set big numbers, because they will be the ones competing for the opportunity to be able to have themselves put into the record books.
I think these guys are about ready to get rolling.
Yeah, let's do this thing. It's one of the strongman events. It's fun.
The bench press, number 11, Kimi Lanama.
And we will begin
Wide receiver, Finland.
with global players. Little smile for the cameras. Get yourself underneath the bench. There's Kimi Lanema from the Roosters in Helsinki will get us under the way. Maybe set a tone here. A bit of an undersized guy as a receiver.
He's got some good pop. Wow, that's good. That's a big number for a receiver. Wow. Nice job.
That's a good job by Kimi, yep. So we'll take 2 reps off here. So the numbers that you hear for people that are listening at home, you can hear is it will be the official count, and then they will subtract reps as Eric Novivo from CFL Football Operations will be the one judging whether or not they locked out, whether or not they met all the specifications, and the players have known ahead of time exactly what it takes to complete a rep and have it counted for them. Who we got up here, Ches?
This is like Jordan Bua. Now he's from Italy. One thing about this bench, and you as we watch the pop. These guys get the bar up. It's not so much the number. The number's important, but the pop. Watch the burst, 'cause that'll tell you what kind of explosion this guy has. I'm a believer that your first 5 tell me as much about your strength as your number.
And we'll see
how you pop the first 5 off your chest.
We'll see at the back end here as you see Bua fighting through the final rep here as the gym comes alive at the Goldring Center, but
6 reps.
goes 6, no subtraction, so he ends up with 6 there. But the thing I agree with the Ches about seeing guys pop and just the mentality to get on the bar, we got the offensive line group last today. The offensive line, the defensive line group, those guys, their first 5 reps usually fly, right? And that's when you really start to see how aggressive they approach getting underneath the bars. We see Frederick Nielsen coming out here from Denmark. The Potsdam Royals, the club team that he plays with in Denmark.
I think it's important to understand what this means. And it's important that you show your strength. It shows me a couple of things. It shows me that you put the time in the weight room. It shows me that you have enough strength to get on and off blocks, off jams. But this is not of utmost importance for receivers.
Lock out! There you go!
See, that's good.
That's a good effort by Frederick. Yep, again, this receiver group, I mean, you can see working behind the bench. Hey, good job. Like anything that's above 5, really, at this point for a receiver, you show a base strength level. You're going to show out in the other tests. The vertical was already this morning. The broad jump is going to come up. Like you've got these other things that they will excel at. But anything over 5, just to set a base level. The only time it's really a problem, Chase, you know this, as DB2, is a guy pops up and he tries to throw himself under the bar, and it's 2 reps, and then he struggles, and then he's out. It's like, ooh. And like, have you been in the weight room? Have you been doing the work?
This is a longer. Benjamin Plou from France. Now, he's got long arms. You look at his body type. It's difficult for a guy with long arms, so any number for Benjamin would be impressive. He's got long levers, which makes it more difficult at the bench press.
He's got those 31-inch long arms that were measured in this morning. I actually thought when I saw him at the hotel last night that was Michael O'Connor. He looks a lot like Michael O'Connor, who we're going to see the quarterback from UBC coming up a little bit later on. But again, good effort from him. What an amazing experience this must be, too, for these global guys to walk into a gym in Canada in front of a crowd with the opportunity to put up a number in front of scouts from all 9 CFL
Who's going to be the
teams.
first guy to peel off his shirt and
the
do a
Gold Gym
flex like
experience.
Hulk Hogan? It's got to be a D lineman or linebacker do that.
Oh, it's a linebacker.
Yeah.
That's a linebacker.
Zero reps.
That's a tough one for Hendrik Schwartz, but you can tell the Bill is not the biggest guy in the world.
See, in that, it's disappointing. I'm sure he wants to have a better number. He wanted to get a couple.
Yeah.
But if I'm an evaluator, that doesn't wipe Hendrik off the board for me. Hendrik might still be the first guy to take it. He might still get an invite because what he does on the field is at that position. Now, if it was a defensive tackle, different story.
Yeah.
Or a bouncer.
It helps. It doesn't kill you, though, right? Like, it helps. It doesn't hurt necessarily if you're able to pull off a big number here. It's another Potsdam Royal and Max Zimmerman.
Let's go now. Breathe. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's go. Let's push. Oh yeah. Let's go.
So the last global receiver,
Relax.
17 minus 2, they will announce 15 reps. And know what's great about that too is that Max Zimmerman there, he's got those 30-inch arms. We talked earlier on about the global receiver Benjamin Plouffe from France having 31-inch arms. They're basically the same body type, same build, but it's 8 more reps on the bench right there for Max Zimmerman. That's a great effort from him.
Also, Marsh, you see that fight at the end to knock out the last couple.
Yeah.
That shows you
That
too.
tells you
That's a
something.
little battle, little.
What I love too is the national guys that are in the upper deck here at the Goldring Center at the University of Toronto, screaming and yelling, "Breathe, breathe!"
Well, this is easy. This is easy work for this.
We're on to the
this jet.
linebackers now. Roni Salonen from Finland.
This will be a big number. You can just tell by how easy he's getting off his chest.
Got gassed out a little bit. You know what I love about that though? Smooth, under control. And I also love looking to the upper deck and seeing Fraser Sopik from the Western Mustangs watching down as a linebacker, watching a global linebacker and saying, damn. Like, he's putting up numbers. I'm going to have to do that next, as all the global players will go first here at the Combine.
Dietrich Hansen from Germany. I got a big number. He just approaching the bar like he's gonna have a big number.
Yeah, that's a well put together guy.
Don't let me down, Dietrich.
Let's go, big dog. Big up. Let's go now, let's go. Come on. Oh yeah. Come on, look out. Let's go. Yup. Let's go, one more.
20.
20 for Dietrich. That's a good number, man.
So we'll talk a lot over the next 2 days, Marsh, about body language and disposition.
Yeah.
And you're going to see that, and that's what a lot of these evaluators are going to be looking at too, is not just in this drill, but on the field drills as well, is what they've seen on film with these prospects, but now how they carry themselves. We saw right there, when Hansen walked out there, what'd I say? He's got some swag to him. You can tell he's confident. Now, it's the same thing in drills. When you see guys out there looking confident, and usually tells you something about them right away.
Maxime Royer right here from McGill, by way of France, is about to just play with this bar, I think.
Here we go. Come on.
16 reps is now the global linebackers have rounded out.
Number 17, Sonny Weishaupt.
In case you're looking for a comparable of 16 reps from a national perspective, how about James Urachuk? How about Sam Hurl? Back in the day, a couple of national guys went through the combine and wrapped out at 16. Dr. Kasama, same thing. As now we move on to the quarterback from Germany that has made his way here.
James Urachek, a teammate of mine, long arms.
Yeah, lanky special teamer. He's got that QB bench. That's all right.
Tied.
Sonny with the stare down. Give me that one. No? Eric Noivo refuses to give the. What a stingy man Eric Noivo is. But that is a tough one. for Sonny. But again, at quarterbacks, that I actually, when I was at McMaster, our strength and conditioning coach, Steve Lidstone at the time, McMaster, said, I don't want you benching a big number as a quarterback because it'll roll your shoulders forward. He said, as a passer, I need your shoulders back. I need you under control.
Yeah, Marsh. That's why you don't have a number. Your coach didn't want you to have a good bench number. Sounds made up.
Telling me stories. Now this guy, RoboCop, ready to go to work right now as Asnel Robo, University of Montreal, in Cayenne, French Guiana. He is built, he is low to the ground, he is stout. He's going to be great, I think, in the one-on-one pass blocking. Let's see what number he puts up.
Let's go!
17, no subtractions. Asnel Robo by way of France. And he is the only, by the way, global running back that has been invited to the Combine. There are 4 nationals, and Robo is the only.
So a linebacker, why would it be important for a linebacker to have a big bench press? Well, the most important thing would be shedding blocks. That quick two-hand punch engage with a guard or a center that gets off to block you. Be able to punch him and throw him off you. That initial pop that a linebacker has, a lot of that comes from chest to your bench press, and that's how you shed blocks. Long arms or big pop.
Now we're getting into the biggies from the
Some
globals.
guys got both.
Yeah, no doubt. We're getting into the big guys here for the global players as we move on to the defensive line with the offensive line to follow before we get into the nationals. This is Okko Outinen from Finland. 32-inch-and-a-quarter arms.
Let's go! Let's go! Yo! Let's go!
Yes, sir. That was Okko was our producer Rob Hines' that was his dark horse.
That was his pick?
That was Hines' dark horse.
So he ends up with 21 on the bench right there.
Now, some of the more experienced, ready-to-play guys, they have that man strength. That you build over time. You see that with some of these guys. Some of the younger guys, U-Sport guys, may not have that man strength as of yet. Again, long arms here.
Throwing that thing, Davis.
From the Berlin Rebels, that's in France.
Let's go!
That doesn't equate.
There you go! Oh yeah, let's get it! Come on now, let's go! Go to work! Keep going!
Got you. He's from France, plays for Germany, because I'm certain that Berlin's not in France.
I was thinking about it. I love that camera angle we got right there down inside the bench. Staring it down. 24 reps. 24 reps. That's a great number. And again, talking about national comparables, some names might matter to people. Rupert Butcher from Western back in 2016 put up 24. Faith Akakati, who was the top pick to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers a couple years ago, was 24 reps as well. Kind of give you some perspective on a great performance there.
Let's be clear. I know Berlin's in Germany, not France, but he was from
I know.
Berlin, but
You know
played
I
it.
know.
Let's be clear. my family's watching. I'm
That's true.
embarrassing myself.
Geography major, Davis, right? Oregon?
University of Oregon education.
There you go, man.
Might have advanced in the tournament, but I might not have went to that many classes.
Early rack there, but again, long, lanky. Different body type too that you'd specifically see from a youth sports player, an NCAA player, a national that you're going to see here at the Combine. See, if he puts on about 20 pounds of muscle, he becomes Willie Jefferson. In that frame, right? As we get Mads Nielsen from Denmark coming in here, second last defensive lineman in the global group. Measured in this morning at about 6'1.5", 264 with 30-inch arms.
Let's go! Push it! 19 reps, 19.
So 19 reps, the max right there from Mads Nielsen.
Right next, we have number 99, Mark Orr, D-line, Germany.
Mark Orr will have the most reps on the bench press.
Yeah, that's what your money's on.
That's
Frankfurt Universe in the GFL.
Strictly going by the body type.
I love his story too. Article in the Toronto Sun sent 1,000 emails, about 50 a day to NCAA scouts, just trying to get an opportunity to come over. This is what CFL 2.0 is all about. D-tackle, a little bit shorter arms. Looks like a Fisher-Price bar.
Let's go! Oh, yeah! Hey, let's go, let's go! Singles. Yup. Come on! Go! Let's go!
Great job by Mark Orr right there. And the thing I love about him too, he began in flag football back in his hometown in 2007 of Mannheim, Germany, and actually came over to watch an Edmonton Eskimos game in 2008 on a Canadian vacation. He fell in love with the game back in 08 in CFL, and now here he is as a part of CFL 2.0 with an opportunity to show his skills. So that's it for the defensive line group when it comes to the global players at the National Combine, brought to you by New Era. On to our offensive line group, as out of Monza, Italy. It's Alejandro Regani. Good job by Alejandro right there. 20 reps puts him right in around the average for an offensive lineman, slightly above average, I should say. As he'll walk off, seems like pretty happy with that. And we move into our final global player, a Finnish offensive lineman. It is Arttu Tenberg. so it'll be 11 reps there to round out the global players on the bench at the 2019 National Combine. So it is Mark Orr out of Germany.
It's number 19, Shamar Busby, DB, Southeastern Louisiana.
That ends up setting the global mark with 28 is where he ended up on that. So we welcome you back in with an opportunity to check in on the global players. What did you think, Chess?
I was,
global guys, that's a big
I was
group.
impressed.
Little-
I suspected that, though.
Yeah, a little hit and miss with some of the guys, but Mark Orr with a great job there, be able to match that up. Let's send it over to Brody Lawson, who was on the sidelines for us throughout the National Combine weekend right here as she checks in with Justin Hickman of the Toronto Argonauts. Brody?
Thank you. I am with Justin Hickman, who is a scout for the Toronto Argonauts. Justin, when you come to the Combine every year and you're scouting, is it the same time and time again, or do you approach it differently based on your needs?
No, I think it's the same every time. You got to evaluate every guy for what he is on film, and what he brings to the table when he shows up here to showcase his skills.
You guys have the first overall pick this year in the draft. Does that change the way you approach things? Have you been busier this offseason?
No, it's always the same. It's just you pick earlier than everybody else.
How much do you factor in athletes' results this weekend? Obviously, you're looking at a breadth of their work, but how much are you actually focusing on these numbers?
It's always a barometer, right? The film is ultimately the biggest test, and that's going to tell you what a guy is and what he isn't. Sometimes when you come here, certain guys' numbers will make you have to watch a little bit more film, or they confirm or they don't confirm something for you, and the film is ultimately the most important thing.
What are the Argos looking for positionally? I know you're probably trying to keep that a little close to your chest, but if you will, what are you looking for this weekend?
We're looking for somebody who's dynamic, a guy that has the type of mentality that we value, a work ethic and a passion for the game that we love. Somebody who's gonna bring something to our locker room that Coach Chamberlain wants to, to start his culture with. Because obviously this is his first year, this will be his first draft. So the type of guy that he wants in the locker room.
Thank you. We'll let you get back to work, Justin.
Appreciate it.
All right, send it back over to Martian Davis.
Justin Hickman right there. Thank you, Brody. Appreciate that. Sliding smoothly into the front office of the Argonauts, just like Matt Black picking up a job with the Argos as well.
A good defensive lineman, Justin Hickman, won in his own right, and the Argos picked up two defensive linemen. You got Toby Antigua and Sean Levin now coming over there on the edge for the Argos this season, so looks like they're set at the defensive end position.
Corey Chamberlain's trying to build something, that's for sure. And again, keeping it close to the chest when it comes to that first overall pick for the Argonauts, as they do have that top pick in the CFL draft. Let's take a look at the notables for the Nationals as we are now going into the regularly scheduled programming over the last little while, with an opportunity to be able to see Philippe Gagnon in 2016 ended up going second overall. The bench press just cemented the way that scouts thought of him. We already knew he was a good offensive lineman coming in. We knew that he was from that Carl Brennan offensive line group from the Laval Rouge et Or, but when he started throwing this thing around Davis back in 2016, it kind of sent a message, didn't it?
He's been good, and that's he showed something there. I think it all kind of wowed us with that number.
He's been a good player for the Alouettes, and again, trying to find another good player here today at the Combine as you get an opportunity to see who's going to step up and make a big noise. We've been talking about it on and off camera, who we think is going to end up making a little bit of noise. And we begin with the defensive back group today. As you see, it's a little bit of a lighter group. There's a lot of guys with a lot of length. So again, this defensive back group might not put up huge numbers, but it's going to be the one-on-ones, and it's going to be the broad jump and vertical as well, with an opportunity to show off what they're really about as we get right into it with our first stepping up, which will be Shamar Busby from Southeast Louisiana. And an opportunity to be able to set the tone here for the Nationals. This is a unique opportunity for him as well, late addition to the National Combine. And clean for Shamar Busby as he sets the tone here for the defensive backs. And again, a bit of an undersized guy, watching some of his games from Southeast Louisiana.
Next up is number 21.
By way of New Mexico Military Academy, his institute, I should say, as we know so many great players are, and we move on Stavros Katsanaitis.
Yeah, Stavros is a competitor. If you watch his film and talking to the coaches out there at UBC, Stavros is extremely competitive. He's an undersized guy. He's going to be a safety, but he fights. He's got some, what they say, some dog in him.
Well, they call him the Bakersfield Bandit. I was reading that in an article down there in Bakersfield, California, as he made his way in to try and put up a number here, a 4-year free safety at UBC.
First team All-American or All-Canadian. He can play the game.
Let's go, let's go.
So 13 on the bench there, one better than one Nicholas Perizotto, a free safety from the Guelph Griffins, who went through the combine process last year and was the last player selected to make a roster from the CFL draft. And this is your dude right here.
This is
because you love you some Malcolm Lee from UBC.
Malcolm Lee is going to be scrutinized at this combine. He's a tremendous talent. Physically, he's got all the tools. He comes from a father who was the number one, first overall pick. His dad is Orville Lee. His brother's Jamal Lee was a first-round pick, a teammate of mine, and Jamal used to be a receiver. He's moved to DB. Tremendous talent.
Went to Nevada as a receiver, now a DB, attacking the bench here at the National Combine.
So for a guy with his body type, a long, rangy, a thin guy, you expect a number around there between 2 and 4. I didn't expect anything else, and that's not a disappointment, I don't think. It's somewhat expected from a guy of his body type. What they want to see with Malcolm Lee is how does he move and cover.
Yeah, you're going to want to see him in action tomorrow when they put the pads and the helmets on, because those 31 and 7/8 long inch arms are going to go to work tomorrow jamming guys up at the line of scrimmage. As we get Jamie Harry here from the University of Ottawa GGs. And Jamie goes with a donut. Matthew Boateng, by the way, in case people are wondering that are aware of the National Combine roster. Very good cover guy from Fresno State by way of the Kansas Jayhawks, not benching at the Combine today, will still be involved in all the remainder of the testing. And here's the man with the 42-inch vert that we got this morning.
Before we move off of Jamie Harry, here's a great example right now. Jamie Harry, we just saw from Ottawa, the defensive back has 0 reps. He might be the best defensive back in this class, hands down.
Totally fair.
So that'll tell you the important, and he's a physical guy. When you watch Jamie Harry's film, what he does best, he's physical. So the bench press tells you some things, other things you can't tell by a bench press. Because Jamie Harry is a physical football player.
And this guy I love. If you know anything about Yarker, Ontario, where Jay Dearborn is from, he might be long, he might be tall. That's farm boy culture out there. That's what that is. Sydenham Golden Eagles, just north of Kingston, Ontario. 42-inch vert this morning came in from the regional combine in the East. And he's fighting through it. 42-inch vert. And it'll be 12 clean reps here for Jay Dearborn. But again, you can see him walking off the stage there. He is tall and built. And I think he might be one of those sneaky guys that shows up at the end of this weekend and we start to see maybe a second, third round grade on him sneaking up from a regional because he's making some noise here with his athletic testing.
If you're 6'3" and you're long like Dearborn is, scouts are looking at you as that range. You can cover sideline to sideline. What a free safety has to do is be able to be in the middle of the field, hold the middle of the field, and then break with range sideline to sideline. When you're as long as rangy as he is, and you can jump 42 inches, you're fitting the bill.
As we get Kerfala Exume from the University of Montreal.
16.
So Exime goes 16 clean reps right there. And it's funny, we talked earlier about Malcolm Lee going to Nevada. Davis as a receiver, converting to DB when he came back to UBC. That is a Sage-up receiver turned University of Montreal Carabin defensive back for Danny Machocha. That puts up 16 on the bench.
What does that tell us? When we see receivers that then move to DB, what does that tell you about their skill
Hands?
set? Okay, hands.
Either way, you got length. And now we get Jean-Sébastien Belial at Trois-Rivières, Quebec. A little bit undersized, but scrappy and loves to strike. So Belial goes for a couple of reps, and now we get ourselves into the receivers as Curly Gittens Jr., a two-time first-team All-Canadian from Laurier, will pop up underneath the bench by way of Guyana and South America. 10 years old, came over. Braden Lenny and Sticky, by the way, from New Mexico, will not be competing in the bench here today at the CFL National Combine, brought to you by New Era. Give Curly Gittens Jr. 9 clean reps right there on the bench. And again, that's a body type that when he came out from the Ottawa Cumberland Panthers and was playing junior football in Ottawa, that's probably not a number that you would expect from him, but he's built himself up in his time at Laurier, put some weight on.
He's a play. Curly Gittens Jr. is a receiver who can play right now.
Yep.
Whoever drafts,
There's
Curly
a bunch of those
Gittens,
guys here, right?
There's a handful of them, yes. And Curly Gittens is right at the top of that list.
So Colton Hunchak from the York Lions will not be benching today. Kaelin Julian Grant, a little bit overshadowed by Chris Osikusi, who we'll see in a minute from the Queens Gales, and by Curly Gittens Jr., but
I like the shoulder shimmy I just saw.
Kaelin Julian Grant went to St. Michael's College, but a half-hour walk from here, back home from St. FX, under the bench at the National Combine.
Go, baby. Let's go, push.
Seven reps, 7.
Kaelin Julian Grant goes 7 reps. He actually received All-Canadian recognition retroactively after a positive test from another All-Canadian
Number 84.
this past year.
He's a 3-time All-Canadian.
He's going to be great. I can't wait for the one-on-ones tomorrow with guys like Malcolm Lee and Matthew Boateng going up against Kaelin Julian Grant from St. FX.
Kaelin Julian Grant snatches the ball out of the air. That's the one thing in the film I saw. He's a competitor. He goes up and gets it. The son of Kareem Grant, a former CFL player, a good player at that.
Nikola Kalinic here from the York Lions. So 10 for Kalinic from the York Lions here, and see him smiling because he set himself up a little bit further back than I think he wanted to and hit it off the uprights a couple times. But Kalinic won the Andre Dury Award at York as the special teams MVP player. And you can see him battling through. He'll be a good special teams player in the league. As next up here we get Hunter Carl from the University of Calgary Dinos. 47 catches, 937 yards, ranked second in U Sports this past year.
Got some strength.
34-inch vertical as well this morning for Hunter Carl, who you can tell walking off their body type actually played some basketball, including a redshirt year with the Dinos when he first got to the University of Calgary. As we get my guy, Chris Osikusi. We're going to be talking about him a lot throughout the weekend, including tomorrow during the one-on-ones. He is built. These Queens guys keep showing up the last couple of years, but really the Brampton Bulldogs guys too from the OVFL, as he is an alumni of that program. Chris has interviewed really well from people I've talked to so far this weekend. Smart guy.
I'm seeing a number coming up here.
And super athletic as well. I'd love to see him put up a number and send a message to the rest of the receiving group. For Chris Osikusi of the Queens Gales. That's not the last you'll hear of him this weekend.
In the Canadian game nowadays, these receivers are being asked to do so much more, and that's why, especially these young receivers, if you're a fourth or fifth receiver, these young guys come in, you're asked a lot of times in the 5 receiver sets to come in and be that blocking guy, come in what they call a house protection, the motion in and really become an extra lineman at times and get defenses out of their scheme and get a nickel back in the box. And so that's why it's important these guys are strong and have the strength to do that if need be.
Clean right there from Malik Richards from Mount Allison University. When you think of Mount A, you don't think of throwing the ball around a whole heck of a lot, but 85 catches, 8 TDs the last 2 years for Malik Richards from Mount Allison. As we send it over to Brody Lawson, who is hanging out on the sideline. She has got G. Roy Simon of the BC Lions. Brody?
Thank you. I am with G. Roy Simon, the Director of Canadian Scouting for the BC Lions. G. Roy, can you give me some overall thoughts on the bench press today?
Well, it looks like these guys, a lot of these guys have prepared for this. This is our first look at them live. So it's so far so good.
So far so good. The global players, your first chance to get a look at them in person today. Can you take anything away from how that group performed on the bench?
Well, some of these guys, you can tell that they're not ready for the testing. They do have the right frames and the right body types, but unfortunately they're not well versed in a lot of the testings that we do over here. But as the years go on, they'll get a lot better.
When we look to tomorrow, how do you think they'll showcase the rest of the weekend tomorrow? You'll get to see them against Canadian players who you'll have a bit more of a background with in terms of their skill set.
Yeah, I think they'll show fine. Obviously, they won't be at the same level, but you're going to look for their athletic ability, their movements, and their functional movements and things like that. So I think they won't be on the same level, but I think they'll show okay.
The Lions obviously had a huge free agency, but let's talk about what they're looking for in the draft and what you might be looking for from this combine.
Well, I mean, in the end, you want the best players, and there's a lot of good players here. The first and foremost, these guys they're gonna make our team on special teams. So those type of body types, guys that can move, guys that are tough. All the measurables that we're gonna look for.
And no doubt you'll be hitting them with the hard questions during interviews. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're gonna hit them up.
All right, we'll send it back to Marshall and Davis. Thank you, G. Roy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe the tough questions have already begun from the scouts and evaluators. From what we heard, some of them beginning last night as the teams meet with players. Just a little bit of a free agency swing for the BC Lions, right? Making some moves.
Oh, talking about Canadians right now. So they went and got Lamar Durant, Suk Chung. When we're talking about Canadian talent, they've upgraded their roster there.
Number 40.
So for the receivers, it is Chris Osikusi who got 19 reps to lead the way for the national receiver group. And now we move on to the linebackers with an opportunity to post some numbers, as Noah Robinson from the University of Missouri was born in Barrie, grew up in Worcester, Mass. Actually began his career with the Memphis Tigers. He's first for the linebacker group. So 12 reps here for Noah Robinson from Missouri. And when I look at him, I just think, I don't know if it's the hair or what, but Paul Kozacuk, Sean Harrington, recent guys that have been picked up in the East Division by the Alouettes and the Argos as special teamers. I could see Noah Robinson being that. Number 6, by the way, Jacob Janke from the York Lions, not participating. He, of course, came from the Ontario Regional Combine that was just back on Thursday. So Janke will not post a bench number here. But now we have the President's Trophy Award winner of 2018, Fraser Sopik, linebacker, heat-seeking missile from the Western Mustangs. This is important for him, Davis. He's a special teamer day one. So Sopa goes 10 clean reps right there from the Western Mustangs, and I see him as, I don't know if it's the W on the side of the helmet or the purple pony or what, but maybe a bit of a smaller John Surla that got picked up by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as he was coming out.
I see him as a guy who's going to be a difference maker wherever he goes. He's a will linebacker, maybe even can play some safety in some packages or some MAC in some packages. He's just a guy that you want to get on the football field.
And this is a regional combine invitee that we get back in here. Another St. Michael's College grad from just down the road is Gordon White from St. FX. Makes his way back to Toronto and gets under the bench. So 13 reps there for Gordon White. So -1, they'll actually go 12 official reps from Eric Noivo here in Toronto at the 2019 CFL National Combine, brought to you by New Era. And here is what we have all been waiting for, Davis. Quarterbacks benching weight. This is what the show is. Chris Merchant, a Vanier Cup champion from 2017, victory over the Laval Rouge et Or. Natural leader, massive numbers in the Yates Cup victory this year against Guelph, under the bench at the National Combine.
See his teammate Fraser Sopik pop around and cheer him on.
That's a good job by Chris.
7 reps.
7 reps clean out of Calgary, Alberta. And this is the guy popping out from behind the shades right now. The one everybody's talking about.
QB, UBC.
O'Connor making his way via IMG Academy, Penn State. Came back, won the Vanier Cup as the starting quarterback in his first year in 2015 with the Thunderbirds. And you are going to love seeing him whip the ball around tomorrow during one-on-ones here on CFL.ca.
He's controlling that pretty easily.
Go, big dog. Come on, baby.
14 clean reps, matches the mark set by Mark Mueller in 2011 from the Regina Rams. Also beats Brad Sinopoli, Tommy Dennison, Justin Dunk out of Guelph, Billy McPhee from Queens. That's a great number.
Brad Sinopoli's a receiver.
I'm just saying.
Was
a quarterback coming out and a hell of a CIS, then U Sports now quarterback for the Ottawa Gee-Gees. That's a great number for Michael O'Connor. Chris Merchant doing a good job as well as we move on to a guy that I think should have been in the National Combine all along as a running back, Jejman Antwi from the Calgary Dinos. Very athletic player, very productive, made his way through the Western Regional, and here he is at the National Combine. Antwi tops out at 18 reps here from the Calgary Dinos. You think about comparing across the global players and the national players as Antwi goes back into the backside and celebrates a little bit as we get a Western Mustang once again. You see a lot of that purple around here this weekend, especially tomorrow once they put the helmets on, as Cedric Joseph, true downhill runner for Greg Marshall's power offense in London.
Go back to that O'Connor, his number. That was an impressive number for a quarterback, no doubt about it. It's obviously, like you mentioned earlier, Marsh, it has little to do with what he's going to do at the next level. What it does tell evaluators is that he's willing to put in the work, and that's important. And you saw his teammates cheering for him. He's obviously in the room, putting in the work and being one of the guys, even though it doesn't necessarily matter for his skill set as a QB. And that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So 6 reps there for Cedric Joseph by way of the Champlain Lennoxville Cougars. Was ranked number 10 by Canada Football Chat in their top 100 coming out of high school. And here is your 2018 East-West Bowl MVP, Jamel Lyles from the University of Manitoba. Told us a great story yesterday in interviews about Andrew Harris when he was with the BC Lions, tossing him a pair of black Cutter's gloves that he actually used as he was making his way through junior football. Wore them till they absolutely wore out, he said, and now an opportunity to try and play in the same league as Andrew Harris as he gets his spotlight under the bench at the National Combine, brought to you by New Era.
That's a strong young man. 17 reps, that's a good number. I've known Jamel Lyles since probably he's about 13 years old, and he puts in the work. I'll promise you that. He knew he was going to be a professional football player at that age, and I can promise you he's done everything he can do to get ready for a day like this. You draft Jamel Lyles, you're drafting a kid that loves this game like no other. He's probably maybe the most versatile of all the backs. He almost could play some slot back as well.
And he carries himself like a pro as well, as 17 for Jamel Lyles will match the mark set down by Ed Ilnicki, a former Heck Crichton Award winner from the University of Alberta, now with the Red Blacks, and Anthony Coombs back in 2014 had 17 on the bench as a running back coming out of Manitoba as well. As we get a look at Gabriel Poland. Gabriel Paulin
15 reps.
finishes up at 15 reps, a workhorse for the Sherbrooke Varior. 1,280 yards on 250 carries and 7 touchdowns throughout his career. A true downhill guy. As we get set now for what really is the main event. We've seen some great numbers so far, both from the global and the national players, but we get an opportunity to see the D-line and the offensive line to follow them here at the National Scouting Combine, brought to you by New Era. As Davis, you see that board, and what comes to mind? Any names popping out for you there?
Well, you just saw Ed Hervey, the general manager of the BC Lions, here in attendance. There's a guy number 94 there, Connor Griffiths, right in his backyard, who would fit, as the Lions do play a Canadian at that interior deep tackle spot. I could see them looking at a guy like Connor Griffiths. He'll put up big numbers, and I'm certain that when Ed's watching, he's looking at that young man from UBC.
Yeah, they picked up Junior Luke and Julian Laurent as well. So they've invested in the D-line. They'll have their eyes wide open here as we get underway with the D-line. Nate Anderson from Missouri not participating in the bench. This is Vincent Desjardins from the Vanier Cup champion Laval Rouge et Or.
Reps, 25.
25 reps right there for Vincent Desjardins. 13 tackles for loss at a defensive tackle spot lined up alongside Matthew Betts, who is not here, will not be testing. Posted numbers that he liked at his pro day in Quebec City. And this is a fun one. Thomas Grant, very talented, very productive defensive lineman for the Acadia Axemen, by way of Halifax, Nova Scotia, a business administration student. Maybe he'll play for the Schooners and they get fired up and run the business side as well.
Twenty-two.
22 reps right there for Thomas Grant from Acadia.
Don't know if you mentioned that, but the AUS Outstanding Lineman of the Year. And as an interior guy, even more impressive.
Same number as Brandon Tennant, that came out a couple years ago. Derek Wiggin, Jabbar Westerman as well. All coming in with 22 reps at the National Combine during their time as we move along to number 94. And this is Connor Griffiths. Great short area quickness, great swim move inside. As Griffiths has got those short arms, Davis, we talked about it off the top. He could post a number here. He's chasing 25, posted by Vincent Desjardins of Laval just a couple of minutes ago.
Griffiths is a first-round pick, in my opinion. Let's see what number he puts up.
Keep it up! Oh yeah, let's go!
That little pause at 25, he knew he got to Desjardins, and then he powered out 3 more there, Davis. 28 for Connor Griffiths from UBC.
Yeah, a little story about Connor Griffiths. When I retired in 2011, working back in Vancouver, working with some of the young kids with Game Ready Fitness and the workout. He was one of the first kids there to start the program off, and he, at that time, maybe was in grade 8, or he was a young kid, and was there every day, busting his butt, never missed a workout. His mom would drive him, he would take the bus, whatever it was, but he was there every day. And it's nice for me personally to see him so many years later. And he's obviously putting the work by looking at him.
Robbie Smith from the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks here now. 25 minus 2, so 23 reps for Robbie Smith. And I love that, Davis, because Vincent Desjardins is that true interior defensive lineman, a little bit shorter arms. And you see Robbie Smith come out here, who played against Laval, played against Vincent Desjardins just a couple of years ago in a UTEC Bowl in a national semifinal in U Sports. And he puts up the same number with a completely different style of game and body type. That's a great number, I think, for Robbie Smith based on what we expected from him. As Tarek Lachance from Manitoba gets under the bar, a Western Regional Combine invitee as he advanced. Got a little bit of special teams background, actually played fullback as well with the Winnipeg Rifles in the CJFL. Gets his moment in the limelight here at the National Combine, brought to you by New Era.
Come on, man.
So 13 reps total for Tarek Lachance. Interested to see him in the one-on-ones tomorrow. He's got length and athleticism. So that is it for the defensive line, as it is 28 reps leading the way here in 2019 by Connor Griffiths. And I'm wondering if any of these 10 names might be able to catch Connor Griffiths' 28 reps, as the offensive line is next, and they are last as well here on the bench press in 2019. Daniel Amara is an Ontario regional invitee. He actually came out of the East, I should say. Vincent Waugh from Sherbrooke, very talented player. Jesse Gibbon, great tackle for the Waterloo Warriors, who I thought last year handled Matthew Betts as well as anybody could in that East-West All-Star game that was played in Quebec City. His first up here for the offensive line. Offensive line, we get Drew Desjardins from the Windsor Lancers.
Reps.
25 clean right there for the Windsor Lancer product, as that matches somebody you mentioned earlier on here on the broadcast, Davis Suk Chung, 25 reps back in 2015. Also Jeff Gray, who's been signed by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, making his way back from the NFL, and Ryan Hunter, who we all remember last year coming out from Bowling Green and going late first, early second. So a good number right there, as now we get a chance to look at Jesse Gibbon, native of Hamilton, Ontario, made his way up Highway 6 to the Waterloo Warriors program. And you know the offensive line is out when our Steadicam hanging on the bench starts to rattle around.
Reps, 26.
26 will be the total for Jesse Gibbon as he makes his way back behind the curtain. A good number for a big offensive tackle. Probably not going to blow you away with his athleticism, but very good player. And this guy, I find this interesting because the University of Alberta offensive line recently, they've established themselves as creating a little bit of something, especially when it comes to some of the shorter set or interior offensive line. Little Shaka trying to get drafted by the Ticats. Maybe June Jones is watching. Throw it up. By way of Sherwood Park, Alberta. You all remember Mark Cordy going as the first U Sports pick to the Ottawa Red Blacks. Former teammate of Cordy's now under the bench at the National Combine.
New record.
What a great job. Right there, that sends a message. 32 reps on the bench for Jonathan Hark.
And Jonathan Hark's body type, skill set, he's a center, no doubt about it. He's not going to be a guard. He's not going to be a tackle. He's a center, and with his short arms, having a punch like that's important. He's going to have some big physical guys over top of him after he snaps the ball. It's good for him to have that punch is important.
That puts him past Pierre Laver, too, who we all remember back in 2014 blew people away with his bench press number. As now we get a look at Kyle Saxlid from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV, under the bench at the National Combine as he has a new mark to chase thanks to Jonathan Hark from Alberta.
If he does 32 with those long arms, I'm leaving.
Reps right there for Kyle Saxlid from UNLV. As Vincent Waugh, you might have heard, called over the loudspeaker, 54 from Sherbrooke, will not be participating in the bench press here. So they move along to 55, Kyle Saxlid. Now Daniel O'Mara, a big body from the Carleton Ravens, the brother of Ron O'Mara, linebacker. Spent some time with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, bounced around CFL the last couple of years. Raw natural size. Actually tweaked his hamstring at the Eastern Regional Combine. Everybody thought he was going to be done testing. And they decided to put the pads on and went to work. Let's see what he does here with these long arms on the bench. So 18 the total for Daniel O'Mara. As I talked to a scout last night that said that he was impressed by the way that O'Mara actually fought through and refused to not put the pads on when he was at the Eastern Regional Combine and tweaked that leg. As now we get Eric Starzala from Guelph. Good recent history for the Griffins in the CFL draft. As Andrew Pickett got picked up last year in the CFL draft, and now it's Starzala's opportunity to send a message.
And you want guys who are going to compete, maybe fight through some injury. As long as the evaluators understand the situation, it's important guys compete. And I like when guys are out here when they have this opportunity.
24 there. Starzales. Out of Cambridge, Ontario. Guelph recruiting pretty successfully out of that program. Jacob Hespler high up there. A lot of good players coming out. And now we get a look at Zach Wilkinson coming out from Northern Colorado by way of Vancouver, British Columbia.
3-year starter at right guard, so he's played a lot of football.
Yeah. So 23 reps right there for Zach Wilkinson out of Northern Colorado. As he puts together a nice run with Kyle Walters and Mike O'Shea of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers looking on as now they get to look at one of their local products out of the University of Manitoba. They like going local out there in Winnipeg, as they recently have with Jeff Gray, of course, from the University of Manitoba, native of Winnipeg, that got picked up a couple of years ago. A big body and a great write-up as well by Chris O'Leary on CFL.ca if you want to read about Zach. So 20 minus 2 will be the official count. 18 reps officially for Zach Williams on the bench press here at the 2019 CFL National Combine, brought to you by New Era, as that matches a name that fans of the Toronto Argonauts and the Edmonton Eskimos will know. And Mason Woods, Darius Sirocco, now the starting right guard for the Hamilton Tiger Cats as well. 18 reps just last year before getting picked up as a first rounder to the Ticats. As now we get Samuel Thomason, number 64 from the Laval Rouge et Or. So 22 reps for Samuel Thomason, as that will do it for the bench press. The offensive line, the defensive line, able to accomplish what we thought they would, with an opportunity to check in with the man who came out today and won the bench press with a great tally of 32. Let's go over to Brody Lawson checking in with the University of Alberta Golden Bears' Jonathan Hart. Brody?
Thank you so much, Marshall. I'm here with Jonathan Hart, who won the bench press today with 32 reps. Were you expecting to get 32 reps today? What were you hoping to achieve?
I was hoping to get kind of around 35, but in training I've been around 31, 32, so I met my expectations, so I'm happy with it.
I was going to ask, how have you been preparing? Is it as simple as just sort of grinding it out on the bench, or is there more finesse, if there could be such a thing, to the bench press training?
There is a bit of like a technique, kind of learning like how you set up and stuff, but at the end of the day, once you get to like rep 28, it's kind of a gut check. You just let it bounce and have a good time under it. So it's kind of a gut check as well as kind of learning how to set up with it. So.
Tomorrow you have a big day on the field. How are you preparing mentally tonight? You get to go home and rest a bit. I know you said you have some schoolwork. Yeah. How do you prepare for the rest of this big weekend?
I'm just going to put my feet up. I've seen some film on all the guys, kind of through their highlight tapes, and they're all great athletes. So maybe do a last-minute check, just kind of see if they're a power guy, a quick guy, if they got some shimmy and shake. And that's probably be the rest of my night. Hydrate, obviously, and just kind of go through my own mentals so I don't fail on myself.
And you told me you got your interviews done last night. How do you think those went?
I think they went pretty well. You know, I'm a pretty social, funny guy, so I had them all laughing. So.
No bizarre questions?
No bizarre questions, unfortunately. I was kind of looking forward to that, but I think everything went well overall, so I'm kind of excited for tomorrow.
Well, congratulations on winning the bench press today. It was very impressive to watch, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll send it back to you, Marshall.
Thank you, Brody. Appreciate it. And by the way, Jonathan Hark, don't count out the weird questions yet. You're not out of the woods yet, okay? We still got Saturday to go here. As an amazing performance by Jonathan, 32 reps on the bench. And it took me back to thinking about another great offensive lineman that came out from Alberta recently. That's not Mark Cordy. It was a little bit under the radar, but Justin Lawrence. They got picked up by the Calgary Stampeders, and Calgary loves what they've gotten from Justin Lawrence, albeit he hasn't had a ton of playing, but it's going to be a name that I would kind of compare him to moving forward with both the school, the style of play, and the body type. As we take a look at our top performers here at the 2019 National Combine, brought to you by New Era. On the bench press, Jonathan Hark, who just spoke with Brody, 32 reps. Connor Griffiths, who we thought would be a standout, 28 reps as well. Mark Hoare from the Frankfurt Universe, our top global player this morning, and 28 reps. Jesse Gibbon, an offensive lineman from Waterloo with those long arms as an offensive tackle, 26, and a couple players coming in at 25 reps. Overall, a strong group, a talented group that we're looking forward to learning more about in the next day or so. We thank you for tuning in here on CFL.ca. It is going to be a full weekend as the bench press is all wrapped. So is the vertical jump, but there is plenty more to determine, and we got it for you all weekend long. 10 a.m. coming up tomorrow, offensive line, defensive line, one-on-ones. As the Hoggies in the trenches, who got us through the bench press today with some big numbers, will go one-on-one and see who can duel it out and make their name known to the scouts and evaluators. At 11 a.m., it'll be the 40-yard dash as well as the speed gets underway. And trust me, there are plenty of receivers and DBs that you're going to want to watch in that one. And it'll be followed by the real marquee event of the CFL Combine that sets it apart from any other combine for professional sports in North America. Put the pads on, put the helmets on, and go to work with the one-on-ones for all the skill position players across the board. For Davis Sanchez, I'm Marshall Ferguson, Brody Lawson. Thank you for tuning in. We're looking forward to having you back tomorrow morning as we go back to work here at the CFL National Combine presented by New Era.